So Adonis Stevenson stops Tony Bellew in the 6th round, but not before experiencing a few problems. Bellew came out in the opening round, boxing on the back foot, using a lot of movement, circling the ring, trying to counterpunch. And those tactics were somewhat effective against Stevenson. Stevenson struggled to get his balance against a moving target. And as I've said before, Stevenson is somewhat one-dimensional. He's a bit of a one-trick pony. He throws that left hand, and that's pretty much all he does. He tends to pull with his right jab. His right jab's not the strongest punch, and everything that he does is to try and set up the big left hand. Now, he came good in this fight, but he did have a few rough moments. There was a moment where Stevenson was actually dropped, but it was with a punch to the back of the head. They were in an exchange. Bellew managed to get off a couple decent shots, and one of them kind of swung round the back of Stevenson's head, and he went down. But the referee didn't rule it a knockdown since it was a punch in the back of the head, which is fair enough. But the fact is, Stevenson still got caught. Coming forward, applying the pressure against a moving target. It's better to have power in both hands. It's better to have the skill to be able to land a power shot from both hands. Whereas Stevenson was just coming forward, fencing with the jab, trying to get his range, and then going with the left hand. It was very, very basic stuff that he was doing. Yeah, there was nothing really technical or anything like that. He was just keeping his distance, because it did appear, as I spoke about in my pre-fight video, it did appear that Stevenson had the longer arms. Not the longer reach. I don't know what the reaches were, but it certainly appeared in the ring that Stevenson had the longer arms. When the fight was at long range, as it pretty much was for the vast majority of it, Stevenson had the advantage with his longer arms, right? But yeah, Bellew had his moments. He did manage to land a few decent counter shots here and there throughout the fight, but I would say that Stevenson won the majority of the rounds. And then the end of the fight came quite suddenly in the 6th round. Stevenson maneuvered Bellew to a corner, landed a left hand and dropped him. And that's the funny thing, previous to Bellew getting knocked down in the 6th, Bellew had actually absorbed, I think it was in the 4th, maybe 3rd or 4th round, Bellew absorbed quite a few of Stevenson's left hands and took them well. He was shaken up, don't get it twisted, he was shaken up, but he didn't go down. Yeah, and he did seem to absorb them quite well. But Stevenson kept applying the pressure, kept going to Bellew's body. And I wonder if that was, bothering Bellew, because since Bellew was moving around so much and it was throwing off Stevenson's range and balance, he was hitting Bellew to the body with a left hand. And I wonder if that slowed Bellew down a little bit and made him stationary enough for Stevenson to get maximum power in his left hand, landing on target. Because sometimes when an opponent is moving, it's hard to get maximum power on your shots when your opponent's moving around the ring. But when your opponent's standing still, or when he's moving a bit slower, that's when you can really, sit down on your shots and get full power in it. So in the 6th round, he managed to get, full power in a shot. Bellew went down. And when Bellew got up, he was obviously very, very shaken up. Stevenson went in a few more shots and Bellew was absolutely gone. Completely gone. His eyes glazed over. He was on the verge of being knocked out cold. Right, so it was a good stoppage by the referee. Definitely saved Tony Bellew from, serious injury. So yeah, overall, I thought it was an okay performance. End of the day, he got the win. All right, he won most of the rounds and he got the win. But you can see the holes in Stevenson's game there. Yeah, you can see the holes, and he certainly struggles with movement. Yeah, he doesn't deal with movement as well as Sergey Kovalev does. Sergey Kovalev, who fought Ismail Silak on the undercard. Silak used the same tactics as Bellew, moving around the ring, not staying in one position for more than a couple seconds. But Kovalev managed to deal with that movement far better. He looked less clumsy than Stevenson. He showed power in both hands. He was able to, catch Silak with the left and the right, with good power. So certainly Kovalev deals with movement better than Adonis Stevenson does. But overall, yeah, it was an okay performance by Stevenson, but future opponents are going to look at that and take certain elements of Tony Bellew's game plan and try and implement it when they fight Adonis Stevenson. Tony Bellew just not good enough on the night, but he did try, and he did better than Tavoris Cloud. Yeah, that's what I will say. He did better than Tavoris Cloud. After the fight, obviously HBO asked Adonis Stevenson about the Kovalev fight, and it seems obvious now. Adonis Stevenson don't want to fight Sergey Kovalev. Right? It seems I said this before the fight, that Stevenson was basically ducking Kovalev for financial reasons, but now I'm starting to think, you know what, maybe it's not just financial reasons. I don't know if these guys have sparred together. I don't know if they've got any, history in the gym. But Stevenson really is not keen at all in fighting Sergey Kovalev. Yeah, he's really not keen on that fight at all. When Max Kellerman proposed the fight to him, he said, "Oh yeah, I can fight Kovalev. I don't have a problem with fighting Kovalev if the money's right." But the fans of Canada want to see me fight Carl Froch and Bernard Hopkins. Because according to him, because of the history that Froch has with Bute and Pascal, and the history that Hopkins has with Pascal. Basically, he's trying to say that the fans want him to defend the honor of Canada by, beating the two people who have beat some of Canada's biggest stars over the past few years, right? In Hopkins and Froch. So I don't really buy that, to be honest with you. This whole card was set up to arrange a fight between Stevenson and Kovalev. Right, Kovalev's Russian. There's no reason he should be fighting in Canada. All right, HBO deliberately put him on that card. Obviously, we all know, to set up a fight between him and a unification between Kovalev and Stevenson. But Stevenson seems to want no part of it. He seems to want to take what he perceives as easier fights, especially the Froch fight, because I 100% believe Stevenson would knock Froch out. Yeah. Even after that performance, some people are going to go overboard and say, "Oh my God, Froch would do him on that performance." No. I 100% believe Stevenson would knock Froch out, right? But Kovalev is a whole different equation. And I thought for a while that I would probably pick Kovalev to knock Stevenson out. Right? I think Kovalev has a more rounded game. Don't get it twisted. I'm definitely not counting Stevenson out in that fight because he does have tremendous power himself. But on the evidence of tonight, seeing both guys in the ring, obviously against different opponents, so it's hard to gauge, which opponent has better punch resistance. From what I've seen of them, I would probably say Bellew has better punch resistance than Ismail Silak. But just the way they looked in the ring, Kovalev looked to have more power than Stevenson. And that's an incredible thing to say because Stevenson's a tremendous puncher. But from the evidence of that, I don't know, Kovalev's balance looked a bit better than Stevenson's. He's able to punch from both sides, left and right. And he just looked more heavy-handed than Stevenson, whereas Stevenson's a bit more explosive. His shots, his left hand comes swift and sudden, whereas Kovalev's power is more thudding, So I suspect Kovalev might be a bit better puncher. He certainly punches more evenly with both hands than Stevenson, who's very, very left-hand dominant. So, I don't think Stevenson really wants that fight. And I'm interested to find out if these guys have any history in the gym. Maybe they've sparred together and Kovalev got the better of it or he knocked Stevenson out. I don't know, man, because I find it pretty strange, like the way Stevenson is behaving. I before the fight, I thought maybe it's just a financial situation, risk reward. And it is that as well. But at the same time, you can't tell me that after the fans in Canada saw Kovalev disposing of Ismail Silak the way that he did, you can't tell me that the fans in Canada don't want to see Kovalev Stevenson. They do want to see it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I know Stevenson's running with this whole idea of defending Canadian honor and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, man. I think Stevenson is very wary of what Kovalev can do in the ring, and I think he knows how good Kovalev really is. Stevenson certainly has the power to hurt Kovalev. Don't get it confused. In that fight right there, whoever lands first may well be the winner. You get what I'm saying? Kovalev himself has been dropped as a pro and apparently stopped as an amateur. So he's certainly vulnerable, but Kovalev has shown better all-round boxing skills to me than Stevenson. Just a more technically sound fighter. Stevenson, he's not technically bad, but he's one-dimensional. He's a one-trick pony. He's more predictable. It's more easy to know what's coming from Stevenson. So anyway, I hope HBO managed to force that fight to happen. I hope they don't, permit Stevenson to go off and fight Carl Froch. And Hopkins is a decent fight. You can't complain about Hopkins' fight in terms of credibility. It's not the fight we want because it wouldn't be as exciting as the Kovalev fight. But you can't really complain about him pursuing a Hopkins fight. Hopkins is one of the light heavyweight champions at the end of the day, and he is a living legend in the game. So you can't complain too much about that. But the Froch fight, come on. Froch is a super middleweight. I know Stevenson was mandatory for Froch's super middleweight title a long time. I know there's this whole avenging Canadian honor. But look, Froch nearly got knocked out in the first round by George Groves last weekend. You get what I'm saying? Like, Froch is coming to the end of his career. He's expressed many times that he don't want to step up to light heavyweight. So unless Stevenson's willing to... I just don't see Froch fighting Stevenson at all. I can't see that fight happening. I don't think Froch would take it. And if he did, I think it could well be a blowout for Adonis Stevenson, that fight. But Kovalev is a whole different story, and I think Stevenson knows it. And that is why he's not keen on that one. So anyway, drop your comments below. Let me know how you felt about this fight. Let me know how you felt about Stevenson's performance and Bellew's performance, and where you see both fighters' careers going forward. So yeah, drop your comments below. This is Hatman. I'm out.